about Ivy League schools and scholarships. Ivy Leagues have an air of prestige simply because of their names. They are broadly considered some of the most elite and selective institutions in the nation. As a result, you could only imagine how appealing it is for students to attend there and also how selective they can be. But the question is, how are families supposed to pay for these schools? Stick around because today's video is all about how Ivy League scholarships work and how to help pay for an education there. Now make sure you hit subscribe because every week we release a new strategy on working towards a debt-free degree, which can certainly help cover the cost of an Ivy League school. Hey there, my name is Jocelyn Pearson, founder of the Scholarship System, where we redefine paying for college to help families build strong financial futures rather than ones buried in debt. And our main line of defense against debt is scholarships. In fact, our families have secured well over $12.2 million in scholarships and counting. Now, just a quick note, we focus on US citizens and residents, so this information is not necessarily applicable to international students. Now, let's talk about Ivy League. So they are 8 private colleges and universities, and they are all located in the northeastern part of the United States. So if your student's considering going there, make sure that they have a warm jacket for the winter. This includes Brown University, Columbia University, Cornell, Dartmouth, Harvard, Princeton, Yale, and University of Pennsylvania. They are highly prestigious and they have a long-standing reputation for academic excellence. They also, of course, have a very highly selective admissions process. Now, because of that, you could only imagine the alum that students get access to by graduating from these institutions. So that said, these are some of the more expensive institutions, especially more expensive than the average college or university because they can charge what they want. Now, here's the kicker. Ivy League schools do not offer merit scholarships, talent, athletic scholarships. They only offer need-based money because they want to make sure that they get the best of the best students, not just the students that can afford to go. I have an entire video about need-blind admissions versus need-aware and what is best for your students, so that would be a helpful video if your student's applying to Ivy Leagues. So when I say that they offer need-based aid, they are actually committed to 100% demonstrated need. So they say whatever the student's need is, they will cover it. And they do not include loans as part of that calculation, where a lot of schools will offer financial aid, but a portion of that is our student loans. To calculate your student's aid, it is a easy calculation. It is just cost of attendance, which is a number that the universities have. It is supposed to be anything, any kind of expenses that they'll have to pay. So tuition, room, board fees, technology fees, admission, student activity fees, anything. So total cost of attendance for that year minus the number that you receive from FAFSA. So this used to be called the EFC, Expected Family Contribution. It is now called the SAI, Student Aid Index. So whatever the total cost is minus what FAFSA says you can afford, that difference, that gap is what the Ivy Leagues say they will find a way to cover. Now, Ivy Leagues really push private scholarships because of this. They say, okay, we're only covering the need, but you're more than welcome to apply to scholarships from outside sources. So as you know, that is my bread and butter. So if you want to, you can check out our free training at thescholarshipsystem.com/free webinar, where I cover exactly how to build a list of private scholarships that your student can apply to. Now, the great thing is, if your student is getting into an Ivy League, then the chances of them winning private scholarships are pretty high. So this is definitely a strategy that you and your student need to focus on. Now, comment below, is your student considering an Ivy League school or have they been admitted? Comment below and you might see someone else that's also going to be admitted in the same school year, which could be a fun little networking opportunity. Now, just to go back to getting that demonstrated need, one of the things you might have noticed is that to get that number, you have to submit FAFSA. So we have an entire FAFSA playlist. You can check it out on our YouTube page. But submitting FAFSA is one of the first steps to getting any money from Harvard or from Yale or from any of these Ivy Leagues. So if you were told, oh, don't submit it, it's not worth your time by someone, please don't listen to them. We always need to submit FAFSA. And I've actually seen students who were admitted into some of these top schools and they missed a FAFSA deadline and they missed out on $40,000 a year that they would have been eligible for. And this is from a family that said, okay, well, I guess we'll just pay for it. So clearly they have some means, and yet their students still would have gotten some money. So going off of that, FAFSA has their own deadline, but the schools have their own deadline as well, which is way earlier than FAFSA's deadline. So when we're going through the admissions process for these Ivy Leagues or for any school for that matter, we also want to find out what their deadline is for submitting FAFSA and make sure you meet it, because this student specifically that I'm thinking of, he missed that school's deadline for FAFSA and they would not budge. They would not let him submit it late. They wouldn't consider it. They did not give him the money. It was a huge, huge hit for this family. Okay, so that said, in addition to submitting FAFSA, we also want to look into those private scholarships. We want to focus on those, especially if your student is extremely competitive and will not get need-based money. Then you have to focus on private scholarships. And again, I have an entire course on this. That's what the scholarship system is. It's a 6-step program on securing scholarships. But we also have the free webinar, which you can go to thescholarshipsystem.com/free webinar to watch on building that list of scholarships. All right, so that said, while many students would love to go to such a prestigious school, it really can come down to the money for these, especially if a student does not have any financial need. But if your student does have need, these Ivy Leagues can actually become a great deal for them since they commit to covering 100% of that gap. So if our number is low from FAFSA, say the result says 5,000, then Harvard or Yale or Princeton or Cornell, these schools might actually be affordable for your student if they can get in. So don't let fear of paying for these top schools stop your student if they are at a level that can compete with students to get into this. All right, that said, there's tons of other strategies that we can use in combination with scholarships to help make these schools more affordable. So make sure you hit subscribe and I will see you in the next video.